Democracy is dead, Matthew. It is a dark world we live in. We've just gotten news from the United States District Court, Northern District of California, that Nintendo of America has won the famous class action lawsuit for the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons, which everyone knows who has used them for more than 15 minutes. They drift. They're badly designed in that respect. A real stain on Nintendo's otherwise spotless record for how durable their products are. Yeah, this just kind of stinks. We have word by way of Eurogamer, who reports on it. They link the actual document where the judge writes his opinion. I'll explain the context of it. This class action seemed to be rooted from the idea that, like, the parents buy the Switch and the kids, are using it, and Nintendo's sort of implicitly sort of taking advantage of minors by this, which I think was, it's probably the most sympathetic way to approach this sort of problem. Like, think of the children. Honestly, like, I don't even think you need to go there. Like, it's just a product that does not work. And so, like, it gets basically, it seems like this died with all the sort of sludge being thrown around, where it's like, it goes into the transfer to the right to sue for the parents, that, the parents are like implicitly signing the EULA, the end user license agreement, by buying the Switch, which is in there. It says, you can't sue Nintendo. Man, it's it's funny what's legal in this country and in the world at large when it comes to businesses' rights as opposed to people. Like individuals, maybe they're getting like, they're trying to get their student loans forgiven. That's never going to happen, or at least it doesn't seem like it's going to. The thought of like those checks that we got during 2020, businesses got 6-figure checks, to do whatever they want with. They were supposed to retain employees, but we've seen with the airlines and with plenty of other businesses and a lot of our representatives, they just took 6 figures from the government that were forgivable loans, free money, from out of our pockets as taxpayers, and just went ahead and funded whatever they wanted to. The airlines famously kept doing stock buybacks instead of retaining pilots and staffing up, and that's how we've had all these travel urgencies this year. But yeah, it's like, coming in this, I'm not necessarily surprised. It's a nice little Christmas present right before Nintendo gives their yearly investor statement. This is probably going to send the stock up a little bit. It's a big win for big business, even though Nintendo has apologized for it, therefore acknowledging that there's a problem. They have a program where basically if you've got a Joy-Con that's malfunctioning, they're going to fix it. So we have blood on their hands, but it's not, you can get a lot done in the court system with the right lawyers and the right angle. So that's the long and short of it. We lost, folks. We lost.
Yeah, it's funny because, like you said, the public apology that they've issued essentially is an admission of guilt. And so it's interesting that, to me, that doesn't impact the court proceedings, because they're acknowledging that there is a problem, and so that should account for something. But just because you've essentially agreed to an end user license agreement by buying a product that, if the product happens to fail, you can't sue Nintendo, when it's honestly ridiculous. And I understand people are saying the reason why typically cases like this don't get overturned because the type of precedent that it would set for things of that nature. And so I can sort of understand it from one angle, but I think it's just honestly ridiculous. And Nintendo has a track record of this. And I'm not completely sure off the top of my head, and you probably are more aware of this than I am, but I know that the Wii Remote was one thing that somebody was suing Nintendo over. I think they were arguing that there was a Philips product that the Wii Remote was a direct copy off of. And then there was also something with the 3DS, I think, with its 3D functionality. And I think Nintendo actually lost that lawsuit. So there's a history of Nintendo fighting these allegations of selling products based off of stolen ideas, or selling products that don't work. And again, like you pointed out, the fact that they're willing to replace every Joy-Con for free, it's admirable. I do appreciate them for that. It's nice that they have that sort of program, but it's just ridiculous that you can't, based on the fact that they're willing to take the loss and replace these products for free, you can't implicate them in the fact that they've sold a faulty product to their customers, which just doesn't equate.
Yeah, and it's just like I feel like in other times Nintendo would have actually made this right. With the Switch Lite coming out, they still didn't fix it. With the OLED, I mean, I haven't heard of it being fixed on the OLED, so I'm just going to assume that it's not, that it is a problem there too. And with like so much of your audience being children, it's annoying because there's so many kids who are going to have their controllers drift and they're not even going to notice. And people are like, oh, just buy a pro controller. Dude, I'm on my third pro controller. My poor son, we just beat Kirby in the Forgotten Land together and like his stick drifts now. And I got to figure out, like, either I got to break it apart and fix it and waste a bunch of my time and probably break it, or I have to buy another one for another $80. And it's like, I've bought 3 of these things. I've bought like 4 pairs of Joy-Con.
I want to interject here because the funny thing about you saying that it probably is something that happens to a lot of children and they're not aware of it. The funny thing though is that, I can recount in the last woman that I was in a relationship with, her son, he was about 8 years old at the time, but I remember the 3 of us were playing Mario Kart on the couch, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And I'll never forget when he was using his Joy-Cons that came with the Switch and the left Joy-Con was drifting, which if you know Mario Kart, that's the Joy-Con you use to control which direction you turn. So he would keep turning left and he would end up falling off the track or going into the dirt, off course, whatever the case may be. And it made him cry. Like, he was extremely distraught and upset because of that, because he couldn't play the game he wanted to play with us, and able to play it in the game work, and so it I think it's something that has affected a lot of not just adults who are more aware of what's going on, but a lot of children, and it's no good, Michael. It's no good.
It's no good. No good at all. It's a big bummer. And you see with them releasing their financial results, a big year for Nintendo. They made an operating profit of 220 billion yen. They've got the resources and the infrastructure to really take care of this problem, but they sort of hush it. And, part of me is curious with this lawsuit being over and them being sort of legally guarded, if they're going to take a more active approach to fixing them. I think it's, I will commend them in some respect for like actually honoring a warranty, having a quality program, as, companies like Apple have done in the past with faulty batteries or buttons on their devices. And it's nice that they do that, but one would hope that they would have at least made a Joy-Con or like started putting new ones in circulation that actually work. But I digress. They're going to keep making their buckaroons.
That's the funny part to me. I didn't realize it was still a problem. I just figured this was something that was, happened to a lot of early adopters of the Switch, but I didn't realize that people purchasing new Joy-Cons to this day are still having this issue. To me, that's the part that I'm surprised that there's no argument to be had in court over. That's the shocking part, because to me, it's you're still actively producing a faulty product. Like there is a problem that has been specified with this product, and you're allowed to still manufacture it and sell it at full retail price, the same price you'd been selling it for before, and there's no repercussions for that. I simply don't understand that. But I think this is just a reminder for all of us, Michael. You and I know it, but to all the people who what's the term, Michael? Boot licking. For all the people that lick enough boots, that have a craving for leather, just know that at the end of the day, these corporations, that they're not your friends. And we understand, we always say this on our podcast, that we're not naive, we're adults, we work for a living. A business, at the end of the day, its number one priority and interest is protecting their bottom line. So we're not naive to that, but it's just a friendly reminder that these companies are not, in fact, your friends. Just because Nintendo produces, games and franchises that we've come to know and love, and we've cherished the memories they've given us over the years, at the end of the day, they're not our friends, frenemies.
That is indeed the truth, but we'll keep playing their games anyway, I guess. I mean, this is the stuff that you gotta. I mean, luckily, I'm not in a financial place where it's like really, tearing me down. But it's just annoying because kids are a little rougher on the controllers. But man, I have GameCube controllers when I was a kid that still work. I have my Super Nintendo controller, the Super Nintendo system that still works, and like that's gonna be a thing of the past, guys. Like we're gonna have these systems that kind of last like 5 years, and then they, hopefully less. Honestly, like we might see them kind of adopt more of a mobile phone market thing where we're buying a new thing every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, the irony of that is that older products or older tech used to last you longer, and it was cheaper. The more advanced things become, the more components and features and things there are that can possibly go wrong with something. And so it's like, give me an old wireless controller, man. I'll take that over, something wireless like that's not going to work in a few years or a few months.
Yeah, or at least make some options for it. But yeah, it's disappointing because I really do love the Joy-Con. I think it's a fantastic idea. The way that it turns into 2 controllers, the way that the HD Rumbles works, I like it a lot. But all that being said, hopefully they do better with the Switch 2. Oh, but I wouldn't hold your breath.
Switch Pro
would not hold your breath. So that's gonna do it for us.